Stephanie, how was Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was good. The food was great. Everyone was in a good mood. None of the family fought. We didn't even talk about politics.
Nice.
Um, my uncle talked about how he picked up two people off the side of the road and drove them home. And then they told him that they were ex-convicts. So there was that. But at least he didn't bring them to Thanksgiving dinner. So
There you go.
how was yours?
It was chill. Like again, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving here, but we had dinner with some of my husband's coworkers and they all live in a hotel and they've been living there for like a year. And so we just had this dinner downstairs in the hotel restaurant and it was a good meal, but like it wasn't Thanksgiving, you know? It was
Yeah.
just
Well, I
dinner.
feel like Thanksgiving is just one of those holidays where it's like, eh.
See,
As okay, this is really
I'm the
funny.
opposite. Okay.
Wait, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I love Thanksgiving. Like to me,
Really?
that's always been one of my favorite holidays. And
Really?
I miss having Thanksgiving probably more than Christmas.
Oh my God. That's wild. You're crazy. Crazy. I'm like a Christmas queen. I love Christmas. Although, like, I love Halloween and I did not get into Halloween this year. But it was funny because, like, as we're eating green bean casserole, which is like
Oh,
a
I love
Thanksgiving
it.
staple, I love it too. Like, a lot of
Yes.
people think it's gross. I think it's amazing. And as we're eating it, like the TV's on in the background, and they're doing some special about like the Campbell Soup Company and how they
Mhm.
like totally brainwashed everyone into thinking this should be like a holiday staple. And we're all like eating it, but it's good, right? That's like my favorite dish.
That's the only time I use mushroom soup is
Yeah.
for the green bean casserole. That's
Yeah.
it.
It's the only
And
time of
like
year you eat green bean casserole, really.
yeah, exactly. And I love pumpkin pies. And so
Mhm.
I made pumpkin pies for my students, and they'd never had it before. So, like,
That's so
there's
crazy.
nothing like that. Yeah, nobody had tried it. And so, you know how you eat something and someone says, like, oh, how was it? And you say, oh, it's interesting. And
That means
interesting
they don't
usually
like
means
it.
like, yeah, I don't like this, right? So I explained to them, like, oh, when you say that in America, it means you really don't like it. And I said, so I'm going to ask you again, what do you think of it? And one woman, she goes, oh, no, it's really good. And another guy says, I still think it's interesting.
Okay. Are people over there like I'm just wondering how similar it is to like Germany because my grandma is German and like she has no problem telling you if she doesn't like something. Like very just like to the point, like, no, this isn't good, or like this is too dry. Like she'll just say it and like not care if it hurts your feelings.
I don't know if they were just trying to be polite with me because they knew I made something that I was excited for them to try. And they expected it to be a lot sweeter than it was, because I'm always talking about how food in America, like sweet food, like cakes and pies and pastries, are so much sweeter in America than they are here.
Yeah.
But the pie really wasn't, it wasn't super sweet, but I showed them a video, and I used to do this all the time, of someone eating a slice of pie, and you know, you just cover the whole fucking thing in whipped cream.
Mhm.
It's like you're sprayed on the top, on the sides.
That's what
It's
I
like
do.
you, yeah, you can't even see the pie. It's just
Yeah.
under a mound of whipped cream. And they were all in shock because they were just like,
Yeah.
how can you eat that much whipped cream?
Oh my God. I got the Costco pack of whipped cream. There were like three
Mm.
bottles of whipped cream. I'm like, you think this is gonna be enough?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah. And I had some of the pie and it was pretty good because I'm so used to cooking with like the canned Libby's pumpkin. Like you don't,
Mhm.
I've never made one from
Yeah,
scratch. And
you
I
got
made
like a whole
these.
pumpkin, right?
Yes. Yeah, I got they're like Hokkaido pumpkins. They're Japanese pumpkins and they're actually a little sweeter, so they're really good for pie.
Oh
But it took me like 6 fucking hours to make two pies.
my
So
God.
probably won't be doing that again. But it was good to try to introduce them to a tradition. And I was trying to explain what Thanksgiving is for and why pie became so popular. And I had to actually do research for it, because I didn't know why pie was the chosen food. And I
I
did
didn't
you know it
either.
was it
Enlighten
was
me.
Abraham Lincoln actually. um, when he declared Thanksgiving a national holiday back in 1863, I think it was. And there was this woman who was advocating to make like pumpkin pie part of Thanksgiving. And there was this whole drama after the Civil War between the North and the South, and like Southerners were saying, we're not going to eat that. That's a Northerner food. And I guess that's part of how sweet potato pie came about instead,
I
because
was
that's
just
really
going to
popular
ask
in the
you if
South.
you've ever had sweet potato
Oh, I
pie.
love it. I love
Oh
it.
my God, my mom makes the best sweet potato pie and she hasn't made it in like 10 years. I don't know why, but I like it better than pumpkin pie. And I don't like
A
sweet
lot of people
potatoes.
say that.
It's weird.
Yeah. Oh, I love sweet potatoes. I was actually going to try to do both, make sweet potato and pumpkin pie. But after the pumpkin, I was like, no, I'm done. I'll
For
try this
6 hours,
another
you're like, I'm
time.
good. I'm
Yeah.
no
I'm
more.
finished.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it
Oh, well,
was
that's
fun.
good. I'm glad you
So
got a little, bit of your American culture in there. I always forget that like we're the country that celebrates Thanksgiving. And,
yeah.
I just don't even think about it until someone reminds me, like, yeah, we don't do that over here. Go.
No, I think Canada does as well, but that's it. And so it was a fun experience because at least now they understand some of American culture for this weird holiday that they call
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But speaking of holidays and Thanksgiving, did you see Trump's Thanksgiving message on Truth Social yesterday?
Oh my God. Yeah. I was like, he's back.
Yes, it was like fucking classic Trump, like the mean tweets, and it was triggering the left. And like, if you guys didn't see it, I'm just gonna read the post. And he posted this like at 1 a.m. And like, does this guy even sleep? Like, does he
No,
sleep?
I don't
Because
think he
he's
does.
always up. No. So anyway, he says, quote, "Happy Thanksgiving to all, including the radical left lunatics who've worked so hard to destroy our country, but who have failed miserably and will always fail because their ideas and policies are so hopelessly bad that the great people of our nation just gave a landslide victory to those who want to make America great again. Don't worry, our country will soon be respected, productive, fair, and strong, and you will be more than ever before proud to be an American," end quote. Like, how can you not love that?
Oh my God. I love all of it. And I came across Don Jr.'s comment and he says, legendary, mean tweets and world peace. We are back. Happy Thanksgiving, America. And I was like, my thoughts exactly.
Yes. And then Trump has this big Thanksgiving dinner at Mar-a-Lago. And from the videos I saw, it's just like a big fucking party. Like Elon's there. And did you see the media's calling him like Trump's adopted son?
No,
Because
but
he like hasn't left Mar-a-Lago apparently. Sly Stallone was there, and then Trump was dancing to the YMCA song,
I
and it
did
just
see
looked
that.
really
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. And then did you see the fucking video that he posted on Truth Social and X?
Yes.
Oh my God. It was awesome. I would play the clip, but you have to
You have
see
to
it.
see it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it's this like iconic 1989 movie, Christmas Vacation. I've seen it multiple times. I'm assuming you've seen it as well.
I watched it literally the night before he posted this. So it
Okay.
was perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, and so if you guys haven't seen it, you have to go look at it. He put Biden's face on Clark Griswold. Adam Schiff is cousin Eddie. Kamala is Eddie's wife, Catherine. You've got Jill Biden superimposed over Ellen Griswold's face. He threw fucking Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi in there. And there's this scene where like Biden's carving the turkey and he's saying the line in the movie, which is, if the turkey tastes half as good as it looks, I think we're all in for a very big treat. And then you see Adam Schiff and Kamala, they're laughing. And then he's cutting the turkey, and Trump pops out, and it's like glitter and fanfare. And he's singing and dancing to the YMCA song. And then you see this image of like Ilhan Omar and AOC, like with looks of horror on their faces. And like, I just fucking love him.
I know. And, this is now a new Thanksgiving tradition for a bunch of people. Like all over TikTok, people are posting pictures of their family and they're all doing like the Trump YMCA dance. And like it's hilarious. And then you see the video of Trump doing his own dance like at Mar-a-Lago and then Elon's doing it. Just awesome. And like, I mean, he's got to be the funniest president we've ever had. Like the guy knows
Yeah.
how to joke around.
I just want to compare this to like the totally out of touch message that California Governor Gavin Newsom posted. And in context, like he and his wife just moved to a $9.1 million mansion in Marin County like a few days ago. And by the way, he still has his $3.7 million mansion in Fair Oaks. So he puts this, very bland message with him and his wife and how Thanksgiving is about gratitude and appreciating what you have, which I agree with that message. But it was so fucking tone deaf coming from a millionaire who just moved into this almost $10 million mansion. So I have to read some of the posts that the people were responding because it's fucking brutal. So one guy says, Happy Thanksgiving. How's the weather over there in the $9 million mansion? Will you be offering tours? Another person said, As you destroy the finances of the state of California, how's slumming in your $9.1 million mansion? Where did the money come from? You have no business or accounting sensibilities. Was it the cartels, the Gettys, money laundering from the 24 billion in missing homeless funds?
That's
Another
exactly what
one,
I thought of. Like all that money went missing and he's got a $9
right.
million house.
Exactly. One other guy said, I'm celebrating Thanksgiving with 16 other family members who escaped California in the past 5 years. We all moved to red states, from South Carolina to Tennessee and Florida. None of us miss your tyrannical state.
Oh my God, that's awesome. But seriously, like he's so just does not get it. He's so out of touch and he's just slimy. I can't
Yes.
stand him. Okay, so you know how Kamala did like the how dare we speak Merry Christmas like in the past? She
Mhm.
apparently did the same thing with Thanksgiving. I don't know when it was, but I saw some clip this morning and she was doing the same thing. Like, well, you're all celebrating Thanksgiving and eating your dinner. Just remember that it's about murder. And like she goes into
What?
like all the like, the real reason for Thanksgiving or whatever. And I'm like, this woman is just like a
Unhinged.
cold-hearted bitch. Yeah. But
Yeah.
speaking of her, like I had to follow up, okay, because you were talking about her on Wednesday. Um, and then we're going over all the money that she still owes and how she has to answer questions about this, right? So apparently she had to get on a call with donors and like talk to them about what the hell happened. And I've got a clip. It's from Hyjo or HYGO News and Lindy Lee, who's like that um DNC finance chair. She's talking about this call and just how like stunned she was. So listen to this clip.
Vice President Harris holding a call with her campaign's top donors this afternoon as she faced questions about how the campaign was able to plow through $1 billion and still came up short. Also faces questions about what she might do next, right? Lindy Lee joins us now, senior advisor to the DNC, who served on the Harris National Finance Committee. Yes, she actually held two calls, one for her top donors and one for grassroots. I was speaking and texting with fellow attendees of the call, and we were amazed by how self-congratulatory the tone was. I don't recall, the call was about 20, 30 minutes. I don't recall anyone taking responsibility. Really? For the fact that we spent about $2 billion across Super PAC and the campaign and came up so significantly short. We lost 7 swing states. Self-congratulatory? And what types of things were being said? They praised Harris as a visionary leader. I believe at one moment during the call, she was talking about her Thanksgiving recipe. And I don't say this with any malice or anything. I'm just merely conveying what happened. I think I was stunned to hear that, given just the extent and brutality of the loss and the fact that DNC staffers, at least two thirds, have been fired summarily as to what to do. I'm just frankly stunned that there was no sort of postmortem or an analysis of how we can do better, what sort of lessons were learned. It was really just patting each other on the back, congratulating each other on I'm not sure what, saying we'll see you for Christmas. Wow. So, but anything about what she wants to do next? Is that the point of having calls like this, that she wants donors to stay on her side? We talked earlier about whether she'd run again in 28 or whether she would maybe run for governor. To put it bluntly, they are not pleased at the prospect. I think this is definitely her attempt to stay close to her donors, but it's also the DNC's way of staying close with the donors and their attempt at donor management. I hope you give me credit for being very honest about this, because this is very raw and very real for me. And yeah, a lot of donors are not happy. A number of them are blaming people on Obama worlds. That's who they helicoptered in after Biden stepped down. A lot of consultants in Obama world came over and took over the campaign apparatus. The same people who were whispering and leaking to the press that Harris should be replaced at the top of the ticket when Biden was running. So you can imagine just the hypocrisy underlying a lot of it. There was this podcast where some of them talked. I don't know if it was similar, I guess for the first time, about what went wrong and the reflections on it. Jen O'Malley Dillon, who ran the campaign, and others, same people, right? Here's a clip from Jen O'Malley Dillon on what you talked about at the beginning. How they run through all this money, which has become something you and others have been saying, well, hey, what's going on here?
Of course, you can look at, did we get the best deal here? This was quite costly here. It's quite expensive. At the end of the day, though, I think if you look at the spend we had, the majority of the money we spent, it was to reach voters. We are going to be in a good space across the board, across all of our entities, without debt that carries forward. Debt. In my view, it's extremely detached from reality. And of course, they failed to mention that hundreds of millions of dollars went to them and their friends, right, through these consulting firms. These consultants were the primary beneficiaries of the Harris campaign, not the American people, not the donors, not anybody else. It was the people who, go from one campaign to the next, looking for their next plum gig. And this is extremely honest, but it's true. They fail upwards and they don't learn any lessons, and they can just keep going because there's no accountability. So what's next? Are you done with this in terms of, are you done doing, raising money for Democrats, giving money to Democrats? I know you've been very outspoken, and are other people feeling the same way that in the donor community that, gives money to the Democrats? Person who doesn't feel the same way. That's the extent of the frustration.
Okay, so I hope that she has a bodyguard, because she's going to end up like on the Clinton list or something.
Well, you know what she said about how they're completely detached from reality?
Yeah.
They literally are. And I played that clip on Wednesday, the one where Kamala sounded totally drunk, telling people, don't let anyone take away your power.
Watch that clip, because I watched it later in the day, and it's when you see her face, it's no question, she's hammered. I can't believe they would play that clip. They must have been trying to make her look bad, because why would you play that?
She looks terrible. And she looks, like I said, I think I said on Wednesday, she looked disheveled. Get your shit together before you get on camera to do something like that. Well, in that same speech, she was talking about how her campaign received the most money that any presidential campaign in history has ever received from grassroots supporters. And she said, quote, nearly 8 million donors contributed an average donation of about $56 to fuel our people-powered campaign, end quote. So I'm sorry, this just shows how fucking tone deaf and dumb she is, and how detached from reality she is, because you're bragging about how much money your campaign received and saying it's the first time in history that a campaign has received this much money, and you're $20 million in debt.
Yeah, she does not get it.
No. And I guess this is what happens when you spend over $654 million fucking dollars on advertising, another $4 million on private jets, hundreds of thousands of dollars for Uber Eats and building podcast sets and bribing people to give you softball interviews. And then I also read she apparently spent $5,000 to get her nails done.
Are you kidding me? I get my nails done for $45. What in the world? It's crazy. I don't know.
I know. Oh, sorry, I'm stepping over you. And then I don't know if you've seen this, but her campaign has been sending out emails begging people, pleading for money. And the Washington Examiner got a hold of some of them. And these were emails that were sent out 2 days ago on Tuesday night. And one of them was It said, quote, "Can we count on you to contribute $50 or whatever feels right to you to support the Harris Fight Fund program to make sure we count every vote in these final races and hold Trump accountable?" End quote. And then another email said, quote, "Over the past few weeks, we have been in the states helping finish out recounts, making sure that every vote is counted. But the reality is, we need to see another surge of donations to allow us to continue building the foundation of resources needed to hold Trump accountable these next 4 years." End quote.
As if they haven't
And there's
screwed
more.
people enough. They're going to ask for
I
more
know.
money after she lost and failed miserably.
Yeah. And
Unbelievable.
they're and what's it's so fucking shady because some of the emails are like warning about Trump's cabinet picks and, oh, it's the start of Project 2025. But where is the money going? Okay. Because a very small portion of it is reportedly going to something called the Harris for President's record account. But there's like no legal ramifications for how the money is spent. So is it going to vote counting? Can any of it go to pay off her debts? Well, it's only a small portion because the majority of the money that people are donating is going to the Harris Fight Fund. And that's basically just a fucking shady ass cover because if you go to the website's donation page and you read the fine print, it says that all the money is going to the DNC and the Democratic Party's state level affiliates.
How is this not like fraud? You
Right.
know? I mean, I just don't get it. And then they were like constantly saying stuff about Trump, like, oh, he's a billionaire and he's gonna like ask people to donate money to his campaign. But then they turn around and do this shit. It's like absolutely insane. And now I don't know if this is true or not, but this morning when I was scrolling through TikTok, there were quite a few people that had said one of her top campaign officials admitted that at no point in time during her campaign did they have any proof of positive polling where she was winning. And remember, I kept saying that. I was like, this is manufactured celebrity. They're going to make it look like she's super popular when there's nothing there. And like basically that's what happened. It's like everyone that supported her was paid to do so. And they freaking lied about all the polls. He's saying there was not one poll showing her in the lead. So if I was a donor, I'd be like, what the fuck?
No
Give
shit.
me my money back.
Yeah, and on top of that, aren't like half of the people that were part of her campaign like they didn't even get paid?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they have like GoFundMe's to try and recoup their money. Like it's absolutely insane. And then all these donors, why aren't they calling out Obama and Nancy Pelosi? Because it was those two that booted out Biden.
Yep.
No one's talking about them. It's just crazy. I don't get it.
No, you notice you barely even see them in the news anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, they're
Not a
like
thing.
hiding probably on Martha's Vineyard together laughing.
Probably, yeah. Um, yeah, I think isn't that where they spent Thanksgiving? I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's where the
Probably.
Obamas spent Thanksgiving. I swear I read something about that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Their safe
But
little island away from all the illegals.
yeah, no shit. So switching gears for a second. Okay, I know you have seen Mark Zuckerberg had dinner with Trump on Wednesday night. And Trump's like one of his somebody, I don't remember who the guy is. He was saying how, yes, he was there and they had a very productive and it was a great dinner. And Zuckerberg is interested in supporting the national renewal of America under Trump's leadership. And I'm like, okay, like I hope he uses this to help dismantle censorship on his own online platforms, But it just seems so disingenuous to me. And it's like, is he trying to just cover his ass for all the misinformation and censorship that, Facebook and Instagram and Meta were responsible for the past 4 years? Or do you think he legitimately wants to help Trump? Because I don't.
Oh no, I'm sure he's covering his ass. And I'm telling you, like, I still think he just wants to fit in with the cool kids. Like, he sees how much fun Elon is having and he's jealous. And like, I think he might actually look up to Trump though, because you look at like that interview that he did after Trump's first assassination attempt, where like he put his fist up in the air, and Zuckerberg's like, that was the most badass thing I've ever seen, and then next thing we know, on the 4th of July, he's like wakeboarding with an American flag. Like I think he like wants to be part of like the masculine, like cool guys or something. But I'm also sure that he wants to cover his ass. And I think Trump knows that. And it's funny because I came across this older clip from one of Trump's rallies in the past where he's calling or he's calling Zuckerberg a weirdo. So listen to this.
Weirdo is a weirdo. Mark Zuckerberg came to the White House, kissed my ass. Kissed my ass. Sure, I'd love to have dinner. Sure, I'd love to have dinner. I'd love to bring my lovely wife. All right, Mark, come on in. Sir, you're #1 on Facebook. I'd like to congratulate you. Oh, thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it. Weirdo Mark Zuckerberg confessed that in 2020, the FBI went to Facebook and the media and gave them the false narrative that the Hunter Biden laptop from hell was Russian disinformation, even though they knew that was not true.
Yeah, so he's got his card. He knows that Zuckerberg's a little weasel.
Oh my God. It doesn't even matter what Trump is talking about. He always makes me laugh.
I know
Sir, can I
he's
go over for dinner?
legitimately like hilarious, like all the time
Yes.
too.
Yeah. And like, didn't he at one point he threatened to throw Zuckerberg in prison for censorship?
I think so, yeah.
It's so I hope this is like, one of those keep your enemies closer kind of things. And then what about Elon? Because he challenged Zuckerberg to a fight or something a few months ago, and like now he's being embraced into, the Trump team.
Yeah, I would love to know what happened to that. It just kind of seemed to go away. I don't know. I think Elon was like joking, and then Zuckerberg like took it seriously because he was like training for it. He got like a
Right.
full-on like trainer, and I think he's like a black belt in karate or something. And I'm telling you, like he is a nerd who's trying to prove himself and fit in with the cool kids. And like probably like most men, he's ready for masculinity to make a comeback.
Well, speaking of Elon, like he's on a fucking roll and I'm loving it. I don't know if you saw, but a few days ago, he published the names of the people that he wants to get rid of in government. And then yesterday, he puts this poll on X asking people if they want to get rid of the IRS.
Yes, please. I will say yes. Oh my God. He's getting a lot of flack for posting about like federal employees. Did you see
Mhm.
that? Like listing their
Yeah.
names or whatever?
Yeah. Well, the ironic thing is like he's not really ousting anybody because all the employees that he mentioned, you can find them all in public record because they're government employees. Like you can look them all up online. So I don't understand any of that, like why people are losing their shit over it.
Well, yeah, and when I was seeing that, like, because of course the mainstream media was going wild with it, and they were saying like all these federal employees are like quitting because of whatever for that, and they just don't like Elon or whatever. And I'm thinking, well, good, isn't that the whole point? So maybe like
Yes.
this is just another way to weed out the weak ones. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
let them leave. Like that is literally the whole point. He's trying to cut all the waste. And so you have like the media feeling so bad for these federal employees, but then at least 12 of Trump's appointees have received death threats against not only them, but their family as well from the radical left. But of course, the MSM, Kamala, Biden, they're not going to condemn that or call that out. Like, that's perfectly fine. It's like the hypocrisy again astounds
Oh,
me.
yeah, it's absolutely insane. And like the going back to the IRS thing for a second, they just asked Congress for another $20 billion in funding. 20 billion. And they're crying like that if they don't get the money, they're going to have to do cutbacks and they can't hire new employees and they won't be able to, do audits and the national debt could increase by $140 billion if they can't audit people. And I'm like, do you not get enough money from the American taxpayers? Like, a huge portion of my fucking paycheck has gone to the IRS for all of my life, and it's just crazy to me. And so I guess this poll that Elon did, there was over 200,000 people that voted, and 60% said the IRS should just be like done away with altogether, and another 30% said their budget should be reduced. And I completely agree. Like, we need a full-on overhaul of the IRS, our whole taxation system in general. I mean, this is a whole other topic. I think we need a flat tax across the board regardless of income. And I just hope they come in there and can follow through on all of these changes.
I hope so too. And I mean, I think they will because he's already posting all the time. I don't know where this guy gets time to post as much as he does,
Same with
but
Trump.
we should have like a Doge weekly recap because he
Yeah.
keeps posting the ridiculous money. So, and this is what pisses me off. The IRS wants more money to come after the taxpayers. Yet, listen to just another snippet of what the taxpayers are paying for. Let's see here, $28 million on licensing fees for green camouflage pattern on Afghan National Army uniforms. $2.5 million on a Super Bowl ad for the census, $1.7 million for holograms of dead comedians, $500,000 to build an IHOP in Washington, D.C. Like, that's what we're paying for. And these motherfuckers want to come and audit us. Like, are you kidding me? Um,
Yep.
but some more good news, in addition to cutting all this nonsense spending, Elon posts on X and he asks people about the time change. And he's like, it appears a lot of people want me to abolish time changes. And Vivek commented, it's inefficient and easy to change. And I'm like, oh my God, they might actually do it. Like my whole life, they've been talking about getting rid of daylight savings. It might actually happen.
That's what I was going to say. Like, this has been an ongoing topic for years. I thought it was actually supposed to happen this year, and it didn't. And it's just, it doesn't have anything really to do with modern life. Like, I guess it still makes sense for agriculture to some extent.
Well, I looked it up and apparently, like the amount of people that have heart attacks and strokes goes up dramatically the week of daylight savings. Like where the week that you lose an hour is where people have all these health issues and a lot of people die and they're thinking that it's because it throws off your whole body or circadian rhythm.
Okay, so switching gears once again, like we need to give an update on the whole Ukraine thing because this is fucking insane. The Biden administration basically just wants to continue contributing to the decimation of generations of young males in Ukraine because now we're apparently urging Ukraine to start drafting at 18 years old so that they can stay competitive in the fight with Russia. And this is coming from a senior official in Biden's administration who wants to remain anonymous, but told AP News reporters yesterday that Ukraine needs another, like at least 160,000 troops, probably more. And he says they need to start being more aggressive in dealing with soldiers who desert the military or go AWOL. And there's like 1 million Ukrainians that are serving in the military right now. And they already lowered the draft age back in April. It was 27, and they lowered it down to 25 years old so they could recruit more soldiers. So it's like, okay, I guess why not make it 18 so we can just kill off another generation of young men? And it's like the country's lost 60,000 soldiers so far. Thousands more are too injured to return to the battlefield. And then you have like the other side with Russia. They've lost over 200,000 soldiers. And so that's at least 260,000 people that have, and that's just soldiers, not even civilians, okay? That's just soldiers who died in this war that never would have started if Trump had been in office. Like, be done already. This is so fucking devastating and needless.
It's so sad. And that's where I get so mad and disgusted with like all these liberal women who think that like the whole world revolves around abortion. And it's like there are much bigger things happening in the world right now. And they either don't know or they don't care, but it just, again, it shows like the arrogance and self-centeredness and hate of people remaining on the left. I mean, the Ukraine's going to be filled with nothing but elites. There's going to be no Ukrainians left if this keeps going on. And it's absolutely horrific.
Yeah, and I know I keep saying this over and over, but the Biden administration, the military industrial complex, whatever the fuck you want to call it, they're literally trying to start a full-blown war before Trump gets in office. Like it's so obvious. And so now everything I'm seeing in the media is like, oh, Russia launched a drone attack on Ukraine's energy infrastructure. And the day before, there was a big missile strike that caused widespread power outages. And so millions of Ukrainians don't have power and they're freezing. And like these attacks are being used to drive this whole concept of pushing Ukraine to drop their conscription age. But we're not talking about all the shit that Ukraine's doing, you know? And it's like we continue to paint Russia as being this aggressor in the war, but I don't agree with that. Like it's us. It's the US military industrial complex that's been pulling the puppet strings all along. And we talked about this last week, but I still think Putin is practicing restraint. And I hope Trump can turn this shit around quickly. And I guess Putin hopes the same because he gave an interview yesterday and he was praising Trump. He was calling him like an intelligent and experienced leader. And he thinks Trump can find a solution to end the war. And he said, Biden's been creating, quote, additional difficulties, end quote, for Trump by allowing Ukraine to fire the ATACMS and military targets in Russia and escalating the war. And he was talking about how, like, Trump has been put through, he said, uncivilized means of struggle with like the assassination attempts, and he doesn't believe that Trump is safe. And I agree.
I don't believe he's safe either. And I think he's well aware of that, obviously. And that brings me to yet another topic, which is that Trump finally signed the Memorandum of Understanding for the transition team. Okay. And this ties into like why I think he's, putting in all these protections for himself. So I didn't even know this was a thing, but I guess that this is where the US General Services Administration gives funds, federal buildings, access to technology, and classified information to the incoming president and their top officials. And apparently, Trump has dragged his feet on signing this because he's made all of these like interesting changes to it. And so typically, this document is signed by presidential candidates on October 1st. And once they sign it, then they get access to all those things, the technology, the buildings, the funds. And then once the election is won, the president elect's team can go like right into the different agencies and start meeting with outgoing officials and start the transition. Like that's how it's supposed to go. Well, why would Trump drag his feet on this? Well, maybe because in 2016, when he signed it, was when they began spying on his campaign and the whole Russia collusion hoax kicked into full gear. And then they went after General Flynn because he simply reached out to his foreign counterparts and introduced himself. So this time, Trump refused to sign off on a bunch of the stipulations with regards to using the government technology and buildings provided by the GSA. And Trump's statement said that they're not going to use taxpayer funding for costs related to the transition in order to be consistent with President Trump's commitment to save taxpayers' hard earned money. And then the statement also says that the transition will operate as a self sufficient organization in a streamlined manner, and that security and information protections are already built in so that the additional government bureaucrat oversight will not be required. Because he probably knows, like, hey, if I put myself in where like they can spy on me and have access to me, they'll freaking take me out. So it's like, once again, he's being smart this time around. He's surrounding himself with carefully selected team members that he can trust. And he's not trusting the current administration to the point that he's not going to use their technology, their building, or their funds until he is sworn in as president. And he's making sure none of these government bureaucrats have access to any of his plans and sensitive information until he's sworn in. So it's like he's not messing around. And I think this is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I love this. And I love that he's following through on his commitment to the American people to not just fucking waste money on
Yeah.
useless government spending.
Yeah, absolutely. So I really hope like he stays safe because I agree with Putin. I think he's got a target on his back and I'm sure he knows that. And I think this is a good precaution to not do anything until he is sworn in
Yeah.
and has those extra protections as president. And God, that day cannot come soon enough, you
I
know?
know. I was just looking at the calendar. I'm like, okay, it's the 29th. So we've got less than 2 months.
Oh man, there's still a
Yeah.
lot that can happen.
I know. I know. That's what I keep saying.
Yeah.
Speaking of stuff happening, I am traveling part of the beginning of next week. So if anything crazy happens, you probably won't hear about it on the podcast. We have some really cool, two really great episodes that we're going to be airing. Um, One is going to be an awesome conspiracy episode, which I love those. So I'm excited for that. But if something awesome happens or crazy happens, check out TikTok because I'm sure Stephanie will post it there. And then we'll talk about it at the end of the week. But
I'll post it on TikTok and yeah, we can go over everything on Friday. But yeah, enjoy your travels. Enjoy, like,
hey,
don't even look at the news or anything. Just like
yeah.
unplug and have fun. And we'll see everyone back here. I guess we'll see everyone on Friday, but we'll have an episode for you guys on Monday. So thanks for tuning in and have a great weekend.